عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. معسكر أرشفة يرحب بكم في نسخته الثانية والتابعة لمبادرة أرشفة، والتي تهتم لأن تكون المصدر الأول للطالب في الجانب الأكاديمي. في السيشن اليوم في مادة ماث 002 تقديم الدكتور أبوجيا للتحضير للاختبار النهائي لترم 202. الهيلب سيشن سيكون مسجل، تجدونه في قناة أرشفة في اليوتيوب لاحقا، بالإضافة إلى وجود العديد من شروحات وسلسلة حلول أولد إكزامز السنوات الماضية. عشان تعرفون آخر أخبارنا وبرامجنا تابعونا عبر حسابنا في تويتر وعبر قنواتنا في اليوتيوب.
Okay, so gentlemen, the app session today, as I mentioned earlier, is organized by Arshifة, the student body. So we are going to take a look at some review questions in preparation for our final exam, inshallah, tomorrow. So we get started. It covers the material for the whole 002. Now let us here. Here the question says, if we are given f of x to be equal to a to the power of x plus b, where f inverse of 1 is equal to 4 and f inverse of 3 is equal to 5, then what is going to be f of 2? We know from section 2.8 that if we have f of x to be equal to y, then by the composition of function, this is true if and only if f inverse of y is equal to x. So when we have the inverse function, the input is y, while the output is x. So here that we have f inverse of 1, this 1 is going to be representing y, while the output here is going to be our x. So look at this one here. When we say f of x equal to, so that means y is going to be equal to a to the power of x plus b. Then what do I do now? Let's start with the first point given to us. F inverse of 1 equal to 4. So we say we have f inverse of 1 to be equal to 4. Gentlemen, what is y here? We are going to substitute in this equation. Y is equal to 1, which is going to be equal to, the function is a to the power of x. What is x? Our x is equal to 4, and then plus b. Then what do we do? What do we do? We can decide to rewrite, gentlemen, using the idea from 001. We can break this one into, let's say, 1 equal to a to the power of 4 multiplied by a to the power of b. Now, gentlemen, you can see here we have a power of 4, while here we have a to the power of b. We can decide to divide both sides by a to the power of b, or divide both sides by a to the power of 4. Whichever we do is going to be the same thing. What do I mean here, Sheikhs? I mean here, divide by a to the power of 4 and divide this by a to the power of 4. So that a to the power of 4 and a to the power of 4 will cancel each other. And if that is the case, then we can write this one as a to the power of minus 4, because 1 divided by a to the power of 4 is going to be a to the power of minus 4, which is going to be equal to, gentlemen, a to the power of b. Now let me clean this one. We don't need it. It's just for explanation. Are the same. A is equal to a. That means the power will also be the same. What does it mean? It means b is equal to minus 4. So we have the value of b, gentlemen. Is that what we are looking for only? No, we need beyond that. So what do I do? Let us go to the next function given to us. We are given f inverse of 3 to be equal to 5. So let me write. We have also f inverse of 3 to be equal to 5. Now we have y again to be equal to 3 is equal to a to the power of x, and x is equal to 5. then we say here plus b. But we find b here to be equal to minus 4. So let me substitute b here to be minus 4 for simplicity. And what does this one give us? So we can rewrite this one, gentlemen, as 3 equal to a to the power of 5 minus 4, that is going to be 1. In other words, we are saying that a is equal to 3. So now we have a to be equal to 3, b equal to negative 4. What do I do? Let us go back to the function again. We are going to rewrite our function. Which function am I talking about? This. So if we rewrite, we are going to say our f of x is equal to a. Already we know a to be 3. So we say 3 to the power of x. And then plus b. What is b? The b is minus 4. Now look at the question. The question says we should evaluate f of 2. Now we are going to remove x and then put 2 there. So we say f of 2 is going to be equal to 3 to the power of 2 minus 4. Simplify. This will be equal to 3 to the power of 2 minus 4. That is going to be minus 2. And this is going to be equal to 1 over 3 to the power of 2, which is going to be 1 over 9. And gentlemen, that is our answer. Now, if there is question, you can raise up your hand to ask the question. We permit 2 candidates at a time. All right, that is great. There's no question. So, gentlemen, let us continue. Here, the correct answer, as you can rightly observe, is A. Now, let us move to the next question. Yes, somebody is raising up his hand. Yes, Mr. Khalid. 1 minute, Khalid. Yes, Khalid, you can ask your question now.
Doctor, in the first, can we say that 8 to the power 0 same as 1? So 4
a to the power of 0 is equal to 1. That is true.
So 4 plus b will be equal to 0.
That is right.
So it's work all the time or just in this case?
It depends on the question. It depends on the question.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, gentlemen, let us continue with the next question. Here, the question says, if the solution of the equation is given as x equal to this, then what is a multiplied by b? That means what will be the base here and what is going to be the inside the square root of the argument. Now, to answer this type of question, what we do, we follow the idea from 0, 0, 1. We can cross multiply. What we do, we say the denominator, cross it here. How? Because this we can say divide by 1 actually. So we can cross multiply. If we cross multiply, gentlemen, what do we get? Let me rewrite. Numerator, we said we have 7x plus 7 minus x, because so there is change. Now here, multiply this denominator with 2. What do we get? This will be equal to 2 multiplied by 7 to the power of x minus 2 multiplied by 7 to the power of minus x. Now we have one problem here. 7 to the power of minus x is a fraction. What do I mean? 7 to the power of minus x is equal to 1 over 7 to the power of x. Now you want to avoid fraction as much as possible. In that case, what do? I will multiply both sides by 7 to the power of x, because if I do multiply by 7 to the power of x, This we cancel with this one, and then we are going to get rid of the fraction. So what do? Here we say multiply the left side by 7 to the power of x, and here we see get 7 power of x plus 7 to the power of minus x, and then multiply also this side by 7 to the power of x. And let me rewrite this one. 7 power of x minus 2 multiplied by 7 to the power of minus x. Now, if we open the bracket, now what do we get? We are going to get, gentlemen, 7 to the power of 2x plus 1. And this will be equal to 2 multiplied by 7 to the power of 2x minus 2 only. Now, gentlemen, you can see that this and this are the same. So we can bring both of them to the left side. Or you can say, no, I want to bring minus 2 to the left side so that it becomes positive. The choice is yours. It is fine, whichever you do. So if we do that one, bringing the minus 2 to this side, we are going to get 3 to be equal to, now bring the 7 to the power of 2x to the right side. That is going to give us 7 to the power of 2x alone. Now what do we have here, gentlemen? We want to bring this 2 to the power, this 2x down. How can we bring it down? We can only bring it down by taking the log base 7 of both sides. So we can say, take log base 7, then we have 3, and this will be equal to log base 7 of, gentlemen, 7 to the power of 2x. Now, we know the property of logarithm. So what does it mean? It means log base 7 of 3 is going to be equal to the base, we go with the argument, right? And then what do we have? This is going to give us 2x. And in other words, to rewrite better, we can say x is going to be equal to divide both sides by 2, or you multiply both sides by half. That is going to be 1 over 2 log base 7 of 3. Now, I can say this is my solution. That is okay. But unfortunately, it is written, the answer is written in this form. So what do? I have to write the answer in the same form. So let us use the power property and take this half to the power now. So this is going to be x equal to log base 7. Now, we say 3 to the power of a half. And 3 to the power of a half is going to be square root of 3. Now, if you compare now our answer with what is given from the question, you will agree with me. We can say, therefore, the base, the b, is equal to 7, and then a is going to be equal to 3, which is under the root. The question says a multiplied by b. So therefore, a multiplied by b is going to be 7 multiplied by 3, and that will be equal to 21 as our answer. All right, so gentlemen, we can see a couple of students raising up their hand. So let us start with Abdullah. Yes, Abdullah, you can talk now.
Yes, Doctor. Please, from when did you begin with the blue color, the second line? How did you get to this stage?
Okay, here, what we have done from the blue line is that we said we have here the power is negative. So we said we have 7 to the power of minus x, which is the same as 1 over 7 to the power of x. Now, we do not want fraction. To make life easy, we multiply both sides by 7 to the power of x. So when we open the bracket, we multiply by 7 to the power of x. So when you multiply this one with this, you are going to get 7 to the power of x multiplied by 7 to the power of x, which is 7 to the power of 2x. That is the blue one. Then the next one, we multiply again this one with this. We say 7 to the power of x multiplied by 7 to the power of minus x, which is going to be 7 to the power of x minus x, which is going to be 7 to the power of 0, which is equal to 1. Do you understand it now?
Yes, doctor, yes. But what did you do after this?
After what? Okay. After, what have we done? Here, we said we have here 7 to the power of 2x, and this one is 2. It is like this one. 7 to the power of 2x plus 1 equal to 2 multiplied by 7 to the power of 2x minus 2. So what have I done? Bring the 2 to this side, we are going to get 3. Now, take this 7 to the power of 2x to the left side. So you have 2 multiplied by 7 to the power of 2x minus 7 to the power of 2x. And this is going to be 7 to the power of 2x alone. Why? Because this is actually 1 multiply.
Okay, okay, now I get it. Thanks, doctor.
All right, you're welcome. All right, gentlemen, now let us continue. The next question. Example number 3. The question says, if we are given u to be equal to sine of 780, and v is also given to us to be cotangent of minus 950 plus tangent. Now, what is the idea here? It is always important, gentlemen, when you have trigonometry and we are given angles, what do we do with this angle? You use the reference angle theorem to make the angle always between 0 and 90 degrees. Use the reference angle theorem to change all the angles to between 0 and 90 degrees. And if you do, life becomes easier and you are going to minimize mistake. So let us begin with u. So here we have u to be equal to sine of 780 degrees. Now you will agree with me that 780 degrees means that we have gone around the circle more than one time. As a matter of fact, when you go around the circle one time, it's 360 degrees. When you go 2 times, that is going to be 720. And you can see that 780 is greater than 720. That means we have gone around the circle more than 2 times. So what do? First, we are going to find the contaminant angle. What is the contaminant angle? Let me write here. The contaminant, theta c, is going to be equal to 780 degrees minus 720 degrees. And just so we are going to rewrite this one. So this will be equal to sine of 60 degree. And what is sine of 60 degree? Sine of 60 degree is going to be equal to root of 3 divided by 2. I hope this one is clear. Now, let's go to the next one. We have v now. For v, it says v is equal to cotangent of minus 950 degree plus, gentlemen, tangent of 220 degrees. We have 2 ways to answer the question. You can say maybe because there is a minus here, you want to use the even and odd function. Or you can decide that, no, I want to use the concept of contaminant directly. If I use contaminant, what do I get? The contaminant angle, it will be equal to minus, if we go around the circle 2 times, I said 2 times, it is 720. When you go 3 times, it's 1080 degree, and you can continue going, gentlemen. So here we say minus 950 degree. Now, because we go to the side, here is going to be plus 1080 in degree. Why? Because the contaminant angle we are looking for is +1, not negative contaminant. So what will be the answer? This is going to give us 0, 3, and 1, 130 degrees. So we can say this will be equal to cotangent of 130 degrees. The first part is complete. Now let us go back. Here we have 220 degrees. This is an angle between 0 and 360 already. Now we are going to use the reference angle theorem. Here, which quadrant are we talking about? This is quadrant number 3. In quadrant number 3, gentlemen, tangent is positive. So we are going to say plus here, tangent of, what is the reference angle of 220 degrees? The reference angle is equal to 220 degrees minus 180 degrees in quadrant number 3. And the answer is going to be equal to 40 degrees. So this is going to be tangent of 40 degrees. Now let us continue. So here again, gentlemen, we have 130 degrees. Which quadrant is that? We want to apply reference angle theorem. We say this is quadrant number 2. In quadrant number 2, cotangent is negative. So this will be equal to minus cotangent of, what is the reference angle of 130 degrees? So we say 180 degrees minus 130 degrees, and gentlemen, that is going to give us 50 degrees. So that is going to give us cotangent of 50 degrees. Now, there is a problem. When we look at the question closely, you will agree with me that here, the angle 40 degrees is not famous, but also there is a relationship between 40 and 50. Right? 40 and 50, we say that these are complementary angles. When we add them together, the answer is going to be 90 degrees. So that means we can use the cofunction identity here. What is the cofunction? We know that tangent of theta is equal to cotangent of 90 degrees minus theta using the cofunction. So that means, gentlemen, we can change this tangent to cotangent. How? It's going to be equal to plus cotangent of 90 minus 40, and that is going to be 50 degrees. Look at it. Minus cotangent of 50 plus cotangent of 50. And gentlemen, the answer will be equal to 0. Now, what does the question say we should do? The question says, let me write the question now. So therefore, we have 4 bracket open u squared plus v. And this is going to be equal to 4, and then we have u squared only. Why? Because v is equal to 0. So this is going to be equal to 4 into, we have u, which is going to be root of 3 divided by 2 all squared. And that will be equal to 4 into 3 over 4. And gentlemen, 4, we go with 4, and the result is going to be equal to 3. And that is our beautiful answer. I hope this is clear, gentlemen. Any question here? So just to recap quickly, whenever we are given any angle, something should always come to the back of our mind. And what is that? We always, gentlemen, try to make the angle between 0 and 90 degrees using the reference angle theorem. Using the reference angle theorem. It is much better. Now let us move to the next question. And what is the next question here? The question says the graph of y equal to minus 2 over 3 sine of pi over 4x And then we are given here, the graph should be between -8 to 0. Obviously, we know one thing. For us to be able to graph sine or cosine, we need to know the amplitude, and also we need to know the period. To find the amplitude, what do? Let us get started with amplitude. It says the absolute value. Sometimes we call this one K, and some books call it A. So we say absolute value of -2/3, and that is going to be equal to 2/3. And gentlemen, that is the amplitude. How about the period? The period is 2 pi divided by the argument here. That is pi over 4. And gentlemen, here you will agree with me that pi, we go with a pi, and this is going to be equal to 8. So the period is equal to 8. Now, of course, we can sketch the graph this way. Let me draw the two-dimensional coordinate system to sketch the graph. Okay, gentlemen. This is the y-axis, and this is the x-axis. Now, we could, you see, A is negative. That means the graph of sine is starting from the negative side. What do I mean? If we say that this is 8, while this one is actually 4, then we should be having here, let me identify the amplitude. We have 2/3, the positive one, and here we have -2/3. So we can say the graph is going to come down here, go to the x-axis, and then come up here. But we do not need the graph on the positive side. If you look at the question is very clear. We want the graph only on the negative part. So what do? So these points are not important here. What we need shall be on the negative side. Let's say, for instance, this is -8. Divide into 2. This is going to be -4. Divide into 2, we get -2. And in between here, gentlemen, we get -6. So here, how would the graph look like? We are going to here, the original graph is starting from the lower part. Why? Because x is negative, right? So here we are going to have the maximum, the x-axis, and then we are going to have the minimum and back to the x-axis. And then we have a beautiful graph like this one, gentlemen. So we have the graph from -8 to 0 now. So you can see that we are actually not really interested in the right side. Then we answer the question. A, which one of them is going to be right? It says the intersection, okay, the graph will intersect the x-axis at 2 points. Obviously, that is wrong. We see that we have 3 intersection points. One at -8, at -4, and also at 0. So we have 3 intersection points and not 2. So A is obviously wrong. B, the graph is going to be above the x-axis on the interval of -4 to 0. That is actually true. But let us check other options, gentlemen. Number C, it says the maximum value, the maximum value of 2/3 on the interval. Yes, the maximum value is 2/3, but which interval is the maximum value? It says from -8 to 4. No, it is having a minimum value at this point. So the maximum value at this point shall be equal to 0. The maximum value will be equal to 0 because this is the maximum we have on this part. So C is obviously wrong. Let us look at D. The graph is increasing on the interval from -8 to -6. This is actually not increasing but decreasing. -8 to -6 is going to be decreasing. And also from -2 to 0, it is also decreasing. So D is wrong. And the last one says decreasing on the interval from -6 to -2. From -6 to 2, that is actually increasing, not decreasing. So the right answer here is B. Is it clear, gentlemen? Questions, please. Or yes, Amma, your question.
Yes, Doctor. Doctor, I have a question. The points on the x-axis, from where do we get it? Like -6, -4?
Oh, the point on the x-axis. I think we know this one very well before, but let me explain it to you again. You see, how do we get this point? If we have a two-dimensional coordinate system, we said for us to graph sine, cosine, secant or cosecant. So we can say this is going to be, you divide from here, from 0 to here, which is the P. You divide it into 3 parts or 4 parts. How? The first one here, this is going to be 0. Then here we have P over 2, the period divided by 2. And here is actually 3P over 4. And this is P, while this one is going to be 1P. Let me make it like this one. 1P over 4. So this one is going to be P over 4, like this one. So we know this one already. Now the period is 8. So what do? I'll just put 8 here, remove P and put 8. Put 8 here and put 8 here. Now, similarly, when I want to go to the negative part, the same story. This is going to be minus P. This is going to be minus P over 2. And this is going to be what? Minus 3P over 4. And this one here is going to be minus P over 4. And easily you get the points. Is that clear?
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, let us continue. Example number 5. The question says, I think something is wrong as part of this question here. I hope it is very clear to you guys. I think this is supposed to be 6. All right. The question says if x is between 0 and 2 pi, then the number of all solutions, of the equation is what? How do we get the number? Okay, I don't know what happened here. Some of them disappeared anyway. So, but the options are 4. Here we have 3, 5, 6, and E, I think is 8. Okay, now. So what do we do in this question, gentlemen? We know that we have 2 sine, and the argument here is 2x plus pi over 6. Then, gentlemen, we can say it is equal to 1. We take this one to the right side. Now, after we have done that one, what do? We can divide both sides by 2 here. So if we do that, we are going to get sine of 2x plus pi over 6 equal to 1 over 2. Now, gentlemen, here we have sine to be positive number. If sine is positive, that means we are talking about quarter number 1 or quadrant number 2. What does it mean? It means that we are going to find the answer in 2 quadrants. So let's start with quadrant number 1. In quadrant number 1, when do we say sine is equal to a half? Sine is equal to a half when the angle is going to be equal to 30 degrees, which is pi over 6. So we take the argument, the whole of the argument. So we say 2x plus pi over 6. This is going to be equal to pi over 6. Because sine is equal to a half when the angle is pi over 6, 30 degrees. Now for the general solution, we say we have 2n pi. Why do we introduce the general solution? Because we have multiple angles here. Now let us simplify, gentlemen. You see pi over 6, we cancel with pi over 6. So we can directly divide both sides by 2. So here we can say x is equal to n pi. And gentlemen, that is one set of solution. Let's go to next quadrant now. Quadrant number 2. Sine in that case is going to be what? We're going to have 2x plus pi over 6. The argument again equal to, in quadrant number 2, we have 5 pi over 6 plus 2n pi. Now let us simplify. We take this to the other side, so we can rewrite it as 2x to be equal to 5 pi over 6 minus pi over 6, and that is going to give us 4 pi over 6, which is 2 pi over 3. So allow me to write 2 pi over 3 plus 2n pi, where n is an integer. Then let us divide both sides by 2. So therefore, we get x to be equal to, when I divide by 2, we have pi over 3 plus n pi. Now, gentlemen, we have 2 general solutions here, this and this. We are looking for the number of solutions in this interval from 0 to 2 pi, where 2 pi is open. So what do we do, gentlemen? We are going to look at different cases. The case when n is equal to 0. If n is equal to 0, and you substitute here, we are going to get x to be equal to what? X will be equal to 0. If we substitute n equal to 0 here, and then we are going to get x is equal to pi over 3. Pi over 3. Then the next one, gentlemen, the next one. We say here, what if n is equal to 1? If n is equal to 1, again we substitute, we have x is equal to pi. And in this case, we are going to say pi over 3 plus pi, and that is going to give us 4 pi over 3. If you look at each one of them, they are inside the interval of from 0 to 2 pi. Now, if we go beyond this, for instance, let's say n equal to 2. I can say here, gentlemen, what is going to be my x? We say x is going to be equal to 2 pi. So obviously, 2 pi is outside the interval because the interval is open. So we can say this is out. And in other words, we can say directly we have 4 solutions. Now, gentlemen, some students will ask a question, teacher, because we are looking for the number of the solution, why don't I just put the argument here inside the interval and get the answer? Yes, we can do that because we are looking for the number of solutions. But in preparation for our exam, sometimes the question asks for the sum of the solution. So this is the general procedure, not only to know the number of the solution, but to know the exact answers so that if we are looking for the sum, we can add them together and still get the answer. Yes, I can see somebody raising up his hand. That is Ahmad Zakari. Yes, Ahmad Zakari.
Assalamu alaikum. Doctor, we always add 2n pi?
Yeah, 2n pi, that means the contaminant.
Okay. There is no choice for pi over 2 plus 2n pi?
No, I don't know, but the general solution, the best practice is that, you know, when you go around the circle one time, this is going to be 2 pi, right? If you go around the circle one time, it's 2 pi. So if I go again, that is going to be 4 pi. If I go again, that is going to be 6 pi, right? So each time we go around the circle is 2n pi, where n is an integer. Although some teacher teaches you that you can find the answer on this side, which is going to be n pi, and this side, which is n pi. I prefer to use the general procedure in which you will try to use only one side, which is better, using the concept of contaminant.
Okay.
All right. So, gentlemen, let us continue. Example number 6, what does the question say? The question says, if theta is the smallest positive angle, gentlemen, at the end of the day, you have all the time to ask any question from any part. So I will take your question, Ahmad. Theta is the smallest positive angle between two vectors. We have vector u and vector v given to us. And then the question says, what is secant of theta? Gentlemen, we know how to do this. We know the angle between two vectors, the smallest angle. We always have two angles between two vectors. Let me explain here. If we have a, say, vector u, and let's say we have vector v, we have two angles. Here, we can call this one maybe the smallest angle now. We call it theta, maybe. And let's say we have another angle here, which we can call beta. So we have two angles, smallest and the larger one. So the question here is after the smallest positive angle. Now, how do we find the smallest positive angle between two vectors? If you remember, in chapter 9, it says we are going to use cosine of theta to be equal to u dot v, that is the dot product of u and v, divided by the magnitude of u multiplied by the magnitude of vector v. Now, gentlemen, here, this is going to be for it to be smallest angle, because we have two possible angles. You can see, but I'm not talking about it now. It says theta is going to be equal to cosine inverse of u dot v divided by the magnitude of u multiplied by the magnitude of v. Gentlemen, this one will give you only smallest angle, the smallest positive angle. If I do not take the inverse, that means it's going to give us two possible answers. And one is going to be the small angle, and the other one is going to be the larger angle. So, since we are not interested in finding the theta, then we don't need to worry about it. So let us find the u dot v. What is the dot product? So u dot v is going to be equal to the vector u. We have 3 and 4. And what is the vector v? That is 2 and 1. And gentlemen, let us multiply the two vectors together. We say here 3 multiplied by 2, and that is going to give us 6. And then 4 multiplied by 1, and that is going to give us plus 4. And the result is equal to 10. So the dot product is equal to 10. Now, how about the magnitude of u? The magnitude of vector u, this is going to be equal to square root of, now we can call it a squared, or we can say 3 squared, the x component, that is the horizontal component, plus the vertical component, square them. And gentlemen, this is going to give us 9 plus 16, which is going to be equal to 25. And gentlemen, that will be equal to 5. Square root of 25 is 5. How about the magnitude of vector v? The magnitude of v is going to be equal to the square root of, now we have 2 all squared plus 1 squared, and that is going to be 4 plus 1, and that is going to be root of 5. We cannot simplify. Gentlemen, remember, the question is asking for secant of theta. What will be the secant of theta? This means, gentlemen, if cosine of theta is given, can we find the secant? Yes, we can take the reciprocal, and we say secant of theta will be equal to, take the reciprocal of this. That will be magnitude of u multiplied by the magnitude of v, divided by the dot product of u and v. Now we have all what we are looking for. So gentlemen, we can say therefore secant of theta is going to be equal to the magnitude of u, that is going to be 5, multiply the magnitude of v, that is going to be root of 5, divide by u dot v, and that is 10. Simplify, and that is going to be root of 5 divided by 2. And that is our answer. I hope this is clear. Questions, please. Okay, we have Sahud here. Yes, Sahud, what's your question?
Yes, hello, Doctor. Doctor, when we find cosine theta, how we know the theta is the smallest positive?
Okay, because the question here tells you, look at the question. It says theta is the smallest positive angle. Theta is the smallest positive angle. But the angles, look at it now, Sahud. Let me show you. So let's say this is vector u, and let's say this is vector h, v. Now, let's say, for example, here, the angle here is a positive angle. I'm just giving you an example. Let's assume this is 120 degree. Okay, and then we know that this one here is going to be a negative angle, right? And this is going to be minus 240 degree. Now, Saud, you should know one thing, that the trigonometric function of minus 240 and the trigonometric function of 120 degree are the same. I think you know this one, right? You can use the concept of coterminant and get the same thing. They're exactly going to be the same. For instance, what am I saying? I'm saying that sine of 120 degrees, this is going to be equal to sine of minus 240 degrees. So the angle is the same, only for you to be able to differentiate which one is going to be smaller and which one is going to be bigger, and that's all. Is that clear?
Yes, Doctor. So this procedure not for just the smallest, for any theta. Is that right?
Yeah, it could be for any angle theta, but we are looking for theta, which is the smallest. Now, I explained this one to you. I said, for you to find theta, which is the smallest, we are saying theta is going to be equal to cosine inverse. Here, we say this one is going to be u dot v divided by the magnitude of u multiplied by the magnitude of v. So here, this will give you the angle that is theta. But if you write like this one, cosine of theta equal to u dot v divided by the magnitude of u multiplied by the magnitude of v, and then this could be any of the angle you are talking about. Maybe the smallest one or maybe the bigger one. Here, the theta did not define which angle I'm talking about. But when I take the inverse, then I will know that I'm talking about the smallest angle. But here, this one is just telling us that theta is the smallest angle. So whether you have used the bigger angle or the smallest angle, in this question, you're going to get the same answer. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Doctor. Thank you.
All right. So gentlemen, let us continue now. For question number 7, the question says if A and B is the solution of the system of equations. Of course, we know several ways to solve system of linear and nonlinear equation. But this is nonlinear equation. You know why? Because we have x in the denominator, also y is in the denominator. If I rewrite this one, for example, it will be y to the power of -1. So obviously, this is not linear system. Now, we can solve it by elimination or by substitution. Elimination comes handy. You know why? Because this is positive, while this is negative. So directly, what can I do, gentlemen? I can say, let us use elimination. This is eliminated. When I eliminate, let us add this one together. If we add together, we are going to get 2 over x plus 2, and then this is going to be equal to, add this one together, this is going to be equal to -2. Now, what do I do, gentlemen? Let us cross multiply. Then we are going to say 2 is going to be equal to -2x minus 4. Bring the negative 2x to the left side. So we say 2x is going to be equal to, take the 2 to the other side, -6. And then we can say x is equal to -3. So gentlemen, we have the value of x, which is represented, gentlemen. So this one is our x, while this one is actually y. A is represented by x, and then B is y. So how do we find y? We can substitute. We say here, gentlemen, substitute for x in either equation number 1 or equation number 2. Whichever you use is the same. So let's say 1. We have maybe smaller numbers in 1. So therefore, if I substitute x here, x is equal to -3. Let's put -3 here. So we are going to get 1 over -3 plus 2. This is going to be plus 1 over y, and that will be equal to 1. Let us simplify. So we say -3 plus 2, that is going to be -1. 1 divided by -1 is -1. So we have -1 plus 1 over y, and that is equal to 1. So 1 over y, gentlemen, will be equal to 2. And then when you take the reciprocal, it means that y is going to be equal to 1 over 2. Gentlemen, it says A and B is a solution, so we can call this one our A, while this one we can call it B. So therefore, what is A plus B? So A plus B shall be equal to -3 plus 1 over 2. You know, you can put it in terms of LCD, -6 over 2, right? And that is going to give us -6 plus 1, and that is going to be equal to -5. So the answer is going to be -5 over 2. And gentlemen, that is our beautiful answer. So the answer here is actually C. Is there any question here, gentlemen? Okay, so let us proceed, gentlemen. Here, the question says, if A, B, C is the solution of linear system whose augmented matrix is this. So, gentlemen, we want to solve this linear system of equation. This is a linear system of equation. Let me give you the equation, please, gentlemen. Okay, this linear system of equation is going to be like this one, x0. So let me write it for you. So we can say, maybe here I can call it xyz, or I can call it abc. So let's say this is a, b, and this is c, gentlemen. So we can say this is going to be 2b plus c is equal to 1. And then the second row, look at it. We are going to have a plus b, and then c is actually 0. So this is going to be equal to 3. And look at the third row. We have a plus 2b minus c, and that, gentlemen, is equal to 5. So this is the linear system of equation, and you are interested in finding A, B, C. To answer this question, gentlemen, we can use Gauss-Jordan method of elimination, or we can use Gaussian elimination method. The choice is actually yours. Now, let us begin. Of course, one method is extension of the other one. So, what do we do, gentlemen? We can say that this is 0. We don't want it to be 0. To write it in echelon form, the first thing to do is to make this one here to be equal to 1. How do I make it 1? I can decide to say interchange row number 1 and row number 2, or you can interchange row number 3 and row number 1. The choice is yours. Now, I don't want to disturb row number 2, so I'm going to interchange row number 1 and 3. So the first step, gentlemen, we say interchange row number 1 and row number 3. If you use row number 2, is fine, but I do not want in this example to touch row number 2. I want to deal with row number 3 because I will change it again. Here, gentlemen. So what do we have? We have 1, 2, minus 1, and here we have 5. Okay, so row number 3 now becomes row number 1 now becomes 3. We have 0, 2, 1, and 1. So now we are not touching row number 2. We have 1, 1, 0, and 3. Now what do we do to this one, gentlemen? We need this guy here to be equal to 0. Now we have a good news, because the row number 3, the first number is already 0, so we have no problem with that. So what will I do now? I would say make this one to be equal to 0, and to make it 0, I would say minus row number 1 plus row number 2. So let us do that, gentlemen. So let me push this system here to the side. So here, row number 1 is not changing. We have 1, 2, minus 1, and we have 5. Row number 3 also not changing. 0, 2, 1, and 1. Now, we are changing row number 2. Multiply row number 1 by minus and add it to row number 2. If I multiply by minus, we get minus 1, minus 2, 1, and minus 5. Now add this one here with this guy, you are going to get 0. Add this one and this one together, you get minus 1. Add this one and this one together, you get 1. Add this one and this one together, you get negative 2. Now, this is good news for us. But instead of 1, I have negative 1. I can still play game. I will multiply now by minus to make it positive. How do I do that? I want to make it as it is, please. How do I do that? So here, I would say multiply row number 2 by minus 1. So we say minus 1 multiplied by row number 2. So row number 1 is not changing. I have 1, 2, and minus 1. And then we have 5. Close the matrix. So here, multiply by minus. This is going to give us 0. This is going to be 1. And this is going to be minus 1. And this is going to be 2. Now, gentlemen, I can combine 2 steps in 1. Look at this guy now. I am going to multiply this row number 2 by 2 and add the result to row number 3 to combine 2 steps in 1. How do I do that? I will say 2 multiply by row number 2 of this one here, this row number 2 I'm talking about, and add it to row number 3. What do I get? Multiply by 2, add it here. We are going to get 0. Multiply by 2, add it here. We are going to get 0. multiply by 2, add it here, and we are going to get 3. Multiply by 2, add it here, we get minus 3. So gentlemen, this is good news. But we want to make this guy here to be equal to 1. How will I make it equal to 1? I will multiply, I would say 1 over 3, multiply by row number 3 directly. Now, before I continue, some of the students may be asking question, teacher, why don't I do this one like this one? I mean, I jump a step here. Instead of jumping the step, why don't I make it like this one? 1, 2, minus 1, 5. Then here, we have 0, 1, minus 1, 2. Then the odd row as it is, let me write it, 0, 2, 1, 1. Now, why don't I do this step? I jump the step. But if you still want to repeat the step, it's the same story. It will now be, using this row number 2, it will be minus 2, row number 2, plus row number 3. But here, because I use the old row, I put 2, not minus 2. So don't get confused, please. If I use this one here, we are going to get the same answer. No problem. It's the same. So gentlemen, let us continue now. So here, what do we have? Row number 1 is not changing. We have 1, 2, minus 1, and we have 5. Let us close the matrix. Row number 2 is not changing. We have 0, 1, minus 1, and 2. And then row number 3, what do I get? It will be multiplied by 1 over 3. This will be 0, 0, 1, and minus 1. Now, gentlemen, if I want to use Gaussian elimination, I will stop here. And then I can use backward substitution. If you like, you said, no, I don't want to use Gaussian elimination. I want to use Gauss-Jordan elimination method. That is fine. To use Gauss-Jordan, we are going to change this one to 0, and change this one also 0, and this one equal to 0. But I do not want to waste that time using the backward substitution to make it faster. What does it mean, gentlemen? Let me write this one into system now. Let me write this one into system of equation. Okay, what will be the system, gentlemen? The system of equation is going to be like this. Pay attention. The first one, gentlemen, we have a 1 multiplied by a. So we have a plus 2b minus c equal to 5. If you look at it very well, that is actually our row, the equation number 3 from the original. No change. Now look at the second one here, Sheikhs. The second equation. We have a b minus c, and this is equal to 2. And the last equation, we say c, gentlemen, is equal to minus 1. Now, what is it saying? It's saying that this system of equation, and this system of equation has exactly the same solution. So the elementary row operation we perform to write it in echelon form does not affect our solution. So gentlemen, now we have simplified system. Let us write the answer. Now we use what we call backward substitution. So we say by backward, gentlemen, substitution. What do we have? By backward substitution, what do we have, gentlemen? We have c already equal to minus 1. So I do not need to worry about c equal to minus 1. I am going to substitute now this c equal to minus 1 in the second equation. So what do we get? I would say, therefore, we have b minus c. So minus 1. That is going to be minus 1, and that is equal to 2. So what does it mean? It means b plus 1 is equal to 2, and gentlemen, b is equal to 1. Now, what do? We are going to, the result we get for b and c, we are going to put it in the first one. So what do we have? We have a, gentlemen, plus 2b. And what is b? B is equal to 1. So we can say plus 2. Minus c. C is minus 1. So it is going to be plus 1, and that will be equal to 5. So we have a plus 3 is equal to 5, and that means a shall be equal to 2. So gentlemen, now we have a, B, and C. What does the question say? The question says we should find A plus B plus C, and the result will be equal to 2 plus 1 minus 1, which is going to be equal to 2 as our answer. Questions, please. So remember, in this system, we can use Gauss-Jordan or Gaussian elimination, which we use to get the same answer. Now, let us proceed, gentlemen. We are here. The question says, given the matrix, okay, where I is equal to square root of minus 1. So that means I is an imaginary number in complex number. The question says if the minor M12 is equal to 0, then what is going to be the value of X? So we know here this is an imaginary number. Now, by the minor M12, what does it mean? It means that we are going to delete the element. So the minor M12, we are going to delete the element in row number 1, the first one, that is row number 1. The element in row number 1 and column number what? Column number 2. We delete element in row number 1, column number 2. So the determinant of what is remaining is what we call the minor. So this will be equal to the determinant of minus I, X, gentlemen 1, and I. So we know how to find the determinant easily for 2 by 2, right? Gentlemen, remember, what do? We multiply first the main diagonal, right? So this is going to be equal to minus I all squared, right? And then we say minus the opposite of the main diagonal. So this is going to be minus X, because X multiplied by 1 is going to give us X. So we say minus the opposite of the main diagonal. Now what do, gentlemen? We know that I is equal to root of minus 1 from 0, 0, 1. And we know that I squared is equal to minus 1. So this we can say is equal to minus 1 minus X. Simplify X. And this is going to give us what? But please, I forgot. The question says this is actually equal to 0. So this is equal to 0. This is equal to 0. So let me change this one to implies to avoid confusion. So what do we have, gentlemen? We have 1 minus X equal to 0. Therefore, we can say X is actually equal to 1. And gentlemen, that is our answer. Questions, please. Ordinarily, gentlemen, sometimes the question can also ask for the minor. What is the minor? But here, because we have X here, we have X here, and we have X here, I can maybe change this one to a number, let's say 4. I can say, what is the minor of element 4? That is the same as M12. So let us continue, gentlemen. Example number 10. The question says, if we are given the matrix A, and we are also given the inverse of A, then what is M plus N? N plus N. Of course, we can answer this question in 2 ways, or we can say more than 2 ways. What comes to your mind quickly is that you can find the inverse of A. And then when you find the inverse of A, we are going to compare our result with the inverse that is given to us. But gentlemen, to find the inverse for 3 by 3 take you little time. Maybe you are spending like 3 to 5 minutes to find the inverse. Why will I waste that time to do that? We have the definition of the inverse of function. What does it say? It says whenever you have a matrix A and you multiply with the inverse of the matrix, the answer is always going to be an identity matrix of the same order, n. Now, if we use this definition, this is going to be easier for us to find n and m. How do we do that, gentlemen? So here we can say A, we have 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 6, minus 1, 1, and minus n. And this is the matrix A. And what is the A inverse? The A inverse is 0, minus 1, minus 3. 2, minus 1, 0. M, 1, and 1. Gentlemen, because we have 3 by 3 matrix, this should be equal to the identity of 3 by 3. We have 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. Identity for 3 by 3 matrix. Okay, gentlemen. Now, what do? We want to find m and n. Here, care must be taken. Look at it, for example. If I multiply row number 1, we see with column number 1 here, it will just give me a number. It's not giving me n. That is not my target. My target is to look into the row that contains n. So, gentlemen, I can look at, for example, row number 3, because there is n there. I can use row number 3 against row number 1, column number 1. That is fine. Or if you like, you can say against column number 2. But if I use column number 2, there will be trouble. You know why? Because this guy here is 0. This will not give me n. So column number 2 will not work for us. Will column number 3 work? Yes, I can use column number 3, but unfortunately, the m here is unknown. So again, column number 3 is we cannot use it because we don't know m yet. So gentlemen, what is the best one now? We use row number 3 against column number 1. So gentlemen, I write row 3, consider row number 3, column, gentlemen, column number 1. And what is that? 3 multiplied by 0, that is going to be 0. 6 multiplied by minus 1, that is minus 6. Minus n multiplied with minus 3, and that is plus 3n. Please help me. We say row number 3, column number H, column number 1. And what element is that? The element is going to be 0. So gentlemen, this is equal to 0. Row number 3, column number 1. Okay, now let us find n. So we can say 3n is equal to 6, and then this means n will be equal to 2. Now, let us look for m. You can decide to say that I'm going to use again row number 3 against now column number 3. That is fine. You know why? Because I already know n. I can do that. But the problem here is that what if you have made mistake in finding n? That means you are going to also repeat the same mistake in finding the m. So to avoid that one, I will not use column number. I'm not going to use row number 3 against the column. So I'm using the column 3, obviously. But let's look at it now. We can use row number 2. That is good. There is no problem. It will give me the answer. Or I can use row number 1. Now, the choice is between row number 1 and row number 2. I prefer row number 1. You know why? Because it has smaller number in multiplication. But if you use row number 2, you get the same answer. So here, gentlemen, I am using row number 1. It contains smaller numbers. So here, the next one we say row number 1 against column number 3. So, gentlemen, what do we have? row number 1. Now we say 1 multiplied by m, we are going to get m. 2 multiplied by 1, that is going to be plus 2. And here we say minus 1 multiplied with 1, and that is minus 1. This will be equal to what? Row number 1, column number 3. Again, gentlemen, that will be equal to 0. So this is going to be equal to 0. Gentlemen, now we know this one here, this is going to be 1. So our m is going to be equal to minus 1. So what is the question saying? The question says find n plus m. Therefore, n plus m will be equal to 2 minus 1, which is equal to 1. So, gentlemen, we have some students raising up their hand. Yes, Amar, your question.
Yes, Doctor, if we want to find m and we multiply the second row, we will get minus 2. M equal to minus 2. I make it twice and I get the same answer. It's minus 2.
You multiply which one?
The second row to get
M.
You will
the
get
second row. The second row against the third column, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I will address that one later. Let's talk about it later when we finish. I will check it again. But there shouldn't be. If that is the case, then something is wrong in the question.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Ahmad. Let's see. Abdullah, your question.
Yes, Doctor. Could we use multiply the inverse of A with A rather than multiply A with the inverse of it?
Yeah, it's the same story. We say A multiplied by A inverse is equal to identity of order n, and also A inverse multiplied by A, and the result is also identity. Whichever you do, you get the same answer. If you multiply them and you have different answer, then the question is wrong. Is that clear? Okay, gentlemen, let us proceed. Example number 11. The question says the vertex and the directrix of the parabola. Now let us look at the parabola. What kind of parabola do we have in the first place? We have y squared plus 12x minus 4y minus 8 equal to 0. Now you can see that there is a square on y, so that means we have to do completing the square in y. And that means we are talking about horizontal parabola. Let us check it out. Why do we say it's horizontal? We have y squared minus 4y. Now let us push the other ones to the other side. So this is going to be equal to minus 12x, and this is going to be plus 8. Now let's do completing the square in y. So we can say we have y squared minus 4y, and then what do we add? We are going to say minus 4 multiplied by half and squared, and that is going to give us 4. So we also add on the other side. This will be equal to minus 12x plus 8, and also on this side we are going to add 4. So now let us make it a perfect square now. We say we have y minus 2 all squared to be equal to minus 12x plus 12. Gentlemen, here we are supposed to make the coefficient of x to just be 1. So what do? We are going to take a common factor. So here we have y minus 2 all squared, and that will be equal to minus 12, take minus 12 as a common factor, and then we have x minus 1. Now you can see clearly that what we have is horizontal parabola. Now, what is the standard equation for horizontal parabola? It will be y minus k all squared equal to 4p into x minus h. Now, if I compare them, look at it. We say minus x is equal, minus h is equal to minus 1, and therefore we can say h will be equal to 1 because minus we cancel with minus. Similarly, we say minus k is equal to minus 2. So minus we cancel with minus again, and k shall be equal to 2. Also, we have 4p to be equal to minus 12, which means p shall be equal to minus 3 when we divide both sides by 4. Now, gentlemen, for the vertex, that is h and k. So therefore, what is going to be the vertex of the parabola? It is h and k, and then our h, according to here, we have h to be equal to 1, and then we have k to be equal to 2. So that vertex is clear. Now, let us talk about the directrix. For the case of horizontal parabola, what is going to be the directrix? The directrix will say x is equal to minus p plus h. If it is vertical, we say y equal to minus p plus k, but this is horizontal. So here we can say this will be equal to minus 3. That is going to be equal to 3. And then we say plus h. That is going to be plus 1, which is equal to 4. So gentlemen, the directrix is equal to 4, and the vertex is 1 and 2. And this is our answer. Questions, please. Okay, let us continue. Number 12. Here the question says the equation of one of the asymptote of the hyperbola. So just like what we did for the case of parabola now, we have to also do completing the square in the case of hyperbola. But when we have hyperbola and ellipse, we need to be very careful about them in completing the square. So let us collect the like terms together. So here we have 9x all squared. Okay, we say minus 18x. Then for the y, we say minus 4y squared. And then we say plus 24y. And gentlemen, this will be equal to 63. Now, before we do the completing the square, we are going to take the common factor. The first one, the common factor is 9. So 9 outside. Then we have x squared minus 2x. Now, do completing the square here. We are going to say minus 2 multiplied by half. And that is going to be minus 1 squared, which is going to be plus 1. So we add 1 on this side. Okay, here. We say minus 4 is a common factor. Then we have y squared. And when we take y squared here, what do I get? I am going to get minus 6y. So minus 6 multiplied by a half all squared, and that is going to give us 9. So here we say plus 9. Close this bracket. And this will be equal to 63. Now here, gentlemen, observe that we added 1. But here, this 1 is actually multiplied by 9. So we are going to add here on this side, we say plus 9. And here, we added 9, but 9 is multiplied by 4, negative 4 actually, which is going to be minus 36. So we subtract 36. Please be careful. If you add 36, you're going to get a wrong answer there. So let us simplify. What do we get? This is going to be 9 into x minus 1 all squared. And then we have minus 4 into y minus 3 all squared, gentlemen. And this will be equal to, if I add this and this one together, that is going to be 72 minus 36, and that is going to be 36. Then what do we do, gentlemen? Let us divide each of them by 36. Divide by 36. Divide here by 36. And also divide this by 36. And what do I get? I'll get here x minus 1 all squared, and 9 into 36, that is going to give us 4. And here, what do we get? We get minus. So we say y minus 3 all squared, and this is going to be divided by 9, and that is equal to 1. Now, what type of hyperbola are we talking about? The positive part is x, so we say this is horizontal hyperbola. Horizontal hyperbola. Okay, now based on the standard equation of horizontal parabola, which is what? Which is x minus h all squared divided by a squared minus y minus k all squared divided by b squared. This is equal to 1. You will agree with me, gentlemen, that we know what is going to be our a, we know what is going to be our b, we know what is going to be our h and k. Now, our target, gentlemen, is not on h and k, because we want to find, gentlemen, the asymptote. It says the equation of one of the asymptotes. So let me write here. We say a squared is going to be equal to 4, and that means a will be equal to 2. B squared is going to be equal to 9, and that means b shall be equal to 3. Now let's talk about the asymptotes. Therefore, the asymptote. We have two asymptotes. One is a positive and one is negative, right? So here we have y minus k equal to, now because it is horizontal, it will be plus or minus b over a. If it is vertical, it will be plus or minus a over b. We need to be very careful here, because if we made mistake, we may find the answer in multiple choice. Vertical, it is a over b, while the horizontal is b over a. And this is going to be x minus h. Every other thing remain the same. So gentlemen, let us substitute. Here now we have y minus k, that is going to be minus 3, equal to plus or minus. What is our b? Our b is 3. And what is our a? Our a is 2 into x minus 1. Now we have to type to clear the before we separate them into two parts. Let's clear the fraction. So we can say here we have 2y minus 6 is equal to plus or minus 3 into x minus 1. So gentlemen, let us find the two asymptotes, the positive and the negative asymptote. Okay, so the one with positive slope and negative slope. Let's say the positive slope. Positive slope now. For the positive slope, we say we have 2y minus 6 is equal to 3, open the bracket because we are using the 3, x minus 1. So here is going to be equal to 3x minus 3. Now bring the 3x here. So we have minus 3x plus 2y. And gentlemen, if I bring the 3 to the other side also, is going to be equal to minus 3, and that will be equal to 0. Now what do we do? Because the leading coefficient is supposed to be positive, multiply by 3 by minus, we are going to get 3x minus 2y plus 3 equal to 0. Now this is the asymptote with the positive slope. What of the negative slope? For the negative slope, gentlemen, we have 2y minus 6 equal to minus 3 into x minus 1. Open the bracket again. We get minus 3x plus 3. Now bring the 3x to the other side. So we say 3x plus 2y. Now bring this 3. This is going to be minus 9 equal to 0. So we have two of the asymptote now. One of them should be correct answer. Now if you look at it, gentlemen, you will agree with me that A is in the answer here. But this one, we cannot find it as part of our answer. So one of them will be true.
كل الشكر للدكتور أبوجية على تقديمه للحصة، كما نشكركم على الحضور، وإن شاء الله كانت حصة مثرية وعادت بالفائدة على الجميع. نتمنى منكم تعبئة الاستبيان الموجود بالشات للاستفادة من ملاحظاتكم وتطوير مستوى تقديم في قادم الأيام. وللمزيد من البرامج الأكاديمية المفيدة نذكركم بمتابعة حسابنا عبر تويتر، وشكرا لكم.